In the small, tight-knit town of Rosewood, where history has been written in the struggles of its people, a storm is brewing. Eleanor Davis, a determined black woman, has spent her entire life fighting against the weight of prejudice, battling not only the obvious acts of racism, but the silent, insidious systems that keep her community oppressed. But this time, it's different. The Davis Community Center, a beacon of hope and resistance for generations, is on the verge of being torn down by the very people who have always profited from their oppression. Led by William Thornton, the town's wealthiest and most powerful man, with the sheriff's office on his side, the threat is real. But Eleanor isn't backing down. When the bulldozers come, she'll be there, standing in their way. Defying not just the authorities, but a history that has always tried to erase people like her. This is no longer just about a building, it's about dignity, it's about survival, and most of all, it's about the unshakable will of a community that refuses to be forgotten. But the fight won't be easy. Eleanor will need more than just courage. She'll need to unite her people, confront her deepest fears, and even face a powerful enemy she never expected, a man named Daniel Thornton who could either help her save everything or destroy it all. The question remains, will she stand alone, or will the strength of her community, her resilience, and her own inner power be enough to turn the tide? As the heavy roar of the bulldozers draws closer, Eleanor stands in front of the community center, her heart racing, but her resolve unwavering. The land, the people, the history, they are all at risk of being erased in an instant. The streets of Rosewood are quiet, but beneath that silence, something stirs, a collective tension, a sense of purpose. Eleanor knows that the moment of reckoning has arrived, and with it a choice, to step back or to fight like never before. The stakes are higher than ever, but in the face of this relentless injustice, Eleanor refuses to back down. With the support of her community, she's prepared to take the fight to the very heart of Rosewood and beyond. Rosewood, Georgia is a town caught between time and progress, where the shadows of the past still loom large. The early morning sun casts a warm glow over the quiet streets, but there's an underlying tension in the air. The town square is pristine, the businesses owned by white families thriving in their neat little corners, while just beyond that, the black neighborhood tells a different story. It's one of fading murals, aging buildings, and a community that's been neglected, fighting to hold on to what little they have left. The Davis Community Center, a place built with love and struggle, stands as a beacon of hope for the residents. It is both a symbol of resistance and a gathering point for a community determined to survive against all odds. But today, something feels different. The camera pans over the worn exterior of the community center, its once vibrant paint now chipped and weathered. A large banner hangs proudly, Davis Community Center, serving Rosewood since 1965. But beneath it, someone has spray-painted in bold red letters, Cloud. The sight is a sharp contrast to the children running in and out of the building, their laughter filling the air, while elders gather on the porch, exchanging quiet, knowing glances. The neighborhood has lived through worse, but the threat is real now. The tension is palpable. Inside the center, Eleanor Davis, a strong and dignified black woman in her 70s with silver curls and hands worn by a lifetime of struggle, is sorting through paperwork. Despite her age, she stands tall, her gaze focused and unwavering. She's seen the worst this town has to offer, and it doesn't intimidate her. Her office, though simple, is a testament to the many years she has dedicated to this community. Every photograph on the wall, every book on the shelf, tells a story of perseverance, of overcoming. But today, as she flips through the papers in front of her, something catches her eye. An eviction notice. The weight of it hits her like a physical blow. She stands there staring at the document, the anger and disbelief spreading across her face. She takes a deep breath and sets it down slowly, her fingers brushing the edges of the paper as if to steady herself. The ringing of the telephone breaks her concentration. She picks up the receiver with a practiced calm. "Davis Community Center, how can I help you?" she answers, her voice firm. There's a pause, then the tone of the voice on the other end changes. The conversation is brief, but it's enough. Eleanor hangs up the phone, her expression unreadable. This isn't just any eviction notice. This is the work of the Rosewood Business Coalition, a group of powerful white businessmen who have long wanted to rid this area of the black community. The plan is simple: tear down the old buildings and build a new, profitable development. It's a familiar story, one Eleanor has seen play out time and time again. She knows exactly who's behind this, and she knows they won't stop until they've wiped out everything this community has built. But Eleanor Davis isn't a woman who backs down. Outside, the sun is beginning to set, casting long shadows across the empty street. Eleanor steps out of her office, the eviction notice still clutched in her hand. As she stands in the doorway, a wave of fear and uncertainty ripples through the crowd of people who have gathered to hear what she will say. The neighborhood's residents, their faces etched with the stories of hardship, look at her with a mix of hope and desperation. They are unsure whether this battle is one they can win, but they trust her. Eleanor's voice, though steady, carries the weight of every challenge she's faced in her life. "We fight," she says. Then, one by one, heads nod. Some of them are afraid, but they know Eleanor isn't just talking about one more battle. They're talking about everything. The heart of the community, the fight for survival, the resistance against forces that would erase them. They stand with her. The next few scenes unfold quickly. The community is threatened, harassed, and intimidated. Small acts of defiance, vandalism, broken windows, and a firebombing in the night are attempts to push Eleanor and the others to submit. But each act of aggression only strengthens their resolve. Eleanor doesn't flinch. She knows what this fight will cost, but she's willing to pay it. Meanwhile, across town, in a place where the powerful white elite meet in luxury, William Thornton, the leader of the Rosewood Business Coalition, sits behind a large desk, his face illuminated by the glow of an expensive desk lamp. He's a man in his 60s, sharp-eyed and cold-hearted, a man who has never had to fight for anything in his life. He's always gotten what he wanted by pulling the right strings, greasing the right palms. He is the very definition of privilege, and he knows it. As he reads through a report about Eleanor's defiance, a smirk crosses his face. "She's stubborn," Thornton says, his voice laced with arrogance. "But old trees fall eventually." The men around him laugh, knowing that they have the money and influence to do whatever they want. They are untouchable. Eleanor Davis, the old woman who runs that community center, is just an obstacle in their path, and they will remove her, just as they've done with so many others before. Later that evening, Daniel Thornton, William's son, sits in his well-appointed study, staring at the TV screen. The newscaster is reporting on Eleanor's speech, covering the eviction notice and the growing tension in the town. Daniel's eyes flicker, with something between guilt and curiosity. He's a man who's grown comfortable in his privilege, but there's something about Eleanor's strength, her conviction, that draws him in. He watches her for a moment longer before turning off the TV, his face unreadable. The next day, Daniel drives to the Davis Community Center. He parks outside, his car sleek and out of place in the dusty parking lot. He stands for a moment, watching the people come and go, before stepping forward. He's unsure what he expects to find, but he knows he can't ignore what's happening here anymore. He approaches Eleanor, who's standing outside looking at the damage. "Miss Davis," he says, his voice tentative. Eleanor turns to face him, her eyes narrow. She knows exactly who he is. "You're William Thornton's son," she says, her voice even but sharp. "Yes," Daniel replies, shifting uncomfortably. I came to say I don't agree with what they're doing." For a long moment, Eleanor simply looks at him. She can see the conflict in his eyes, but she knows this is bigger than him.